The rivals are coming in bunches for the Orange. Syracuse gets another Central New York opponent. This time it's the Cornell Big Red. Tyler Rocky alongside Venzon and Corey Spector. And guys, in recent years, Syracuse and Cornell hasn't really been that much of a contest. SU's been the much better team in pretty much each of the last 5 contests. But this time around, completely different story. Yeah, and the turnaround's been completely led by the young guys with Cornell. They've had a lot of players that got good playing time last season as freshmen and sophomores. I'm talking about Jeff Teat, Paul Rzymanowicz, and Clark Peterson. Those guys have led the charge for them. Teat, leading goal scorer, leading assist man for the Big Red. Rzymanowicz has had 6 games in a row where he's won more than 50% of his faceoffs from the Fogo position. And Clark Peterson, first team captain as a sophomore in Cornell's history for their lacrosse program. He's been a steadying force for them this entire season. It's been a big-time turnaround, and it's been the young guys that have done it.
Clearly, we have a prepared analyst here on Cuse Countdown. But for me, I'll make it simple. Cornell's second in the entire country in goals scored at 15 goals per game. And Christian Knight, their goaltender, when he's played, he's been really good for them. He's made timely saves throughout the season. Cornell's a much better team, Tyler.
And especially given the recent history. This was a team that used to be one of the best, most elite programs in the country. Now, both these teams come into this one in the top 10 in the nation, both at 6-3. But how they got there, very different. Syracuse, not a high-octane offense. You see that goal differential of 0.4. That was actually negative a couple weeks ago. Meanwhile, you look on the other side at Cornell, that goal differential of 6. That's second in the nation. Yeah, their goals per game have been inflated a little bit by some weaker competition where they went off and had 3 or 4 games where they had scored 20 points. But I take a look at that defense, almost a little over 9 goals per game. That puts them in the top 25 in the country. That's been a big improvement for them as well.
Yeah, and for Syracuse, you look 11 goals per game so far. If you take away those games against Albany and Johns Hopkins, both were blowouts. Syracuse's numbers would be much better.
Now, Syracuse, they've been a pretty good road team this year. Again, this is not much of a road game. They're going to Ithaca to play this. But, Chris, what does the Orange have to do to keep up its road success? Syracuse needs to win from the X early and often. I'm looking at you, Danny Varela. This team has struggled to find consistency from the X this entire season, and mostly we've seen Varela struggle. He's had games where he's been replaced. I'm looking at the Duke game where Nick Martin was substituted in for him, had to really struggle to pick up the things, and they've only won the face-off battle in 3 of their 9 games. So as a whole, Syracuse has to be able to contain possession because Cornell has not had a lot of rest. They're coming into this one with just 3 days since their last game.
Yeah, for me, Chris, it's going to be close the gap on defense. For Syracuse, goalie Don Madonna has been a little shaky so far this season. He's coming off of great games against Hobart and Notre Dame, but in previous games against Johns Hopkins and Duke and Rutgers, his play was erratic at best. And for the Orange, Marcus Cunningham, Tyson Bomberry, and Nick Mellon have a tough assignment this week against guys like Jeff Teat, Clark Peterson, and Jordan Dowiak. Each of those 3 guys over 20 goals so far this season. And Cornell, they're first in the entire country in shot percentage, so if they get a good look, chances are they're going to be scoring goals.
And Nick Mellon has a knack for shutting down big-time guys, so we'll see if he can do it again this week against Cornell. Corey, does Syracuse pull off the win?
Yeah, I'm going to take Syracuse in this one, 14-12. I think it's a close game overall just because Cornell's running gun style, up-tempo style. It really compares well to Syracuse. Cornell, though, they're below 50% at the face-off X. Finally, Syracuse plays a team that's worse than them at the face-off X. I think Syracuse comes in motivated. They win this game 14-12.
Yeah, Cornell is going to be Syracuse rather is going to be well rested in this game. That's why I'm predicting that Syracuse is going to win 14-13 in a barn burner. Cornell is a very good team, but they really haven't seen an offense since Albany like Syracuse that can score as many goals. What I look at though is in the 4th quarter, Cornell's production trails off. They average around 35, 36 goals. They have scored 35, 36 goals this entire season, but in the 4th quarter, they've only had 29. It's a 7-goal drop-off. That's a real struggle, especially if you're going to be gassed with only 3 days of rest. All right, so both of our analysts are saying Syracuse picks up its 3rd top 10 win of the season.
It's a close one, though. Close one.
Very close one, yep. All right, that's going to do it for us here on Cuse Countdown. For Corey Spector and Venzon, I'm Tyler Rocky. Syracuse and Cornell coming up this Tuesday. Thanks for watching.